Okay, then let's talk England's squad for that tour to Japan and the 2-test series against New Zealand. We've had the Premiership semi-finals. Sale and Saracens are out, and so Steve Borthwick can select those players. He will update his England squad at 6 p.m. Monday evening, tomorrow as I record this. So who should get into the squad and who should be nudged out of the squad, because this has been made very clear. Just because you're picked in the squad in week 1 doesn't mean you'll be there in the next week. It doesn't mean the players that are excluded at the moment can't come back in. So it's going to be quite a fluid situation with the Premiership final. Obviously, Northampton and Bath players unavailable at this point. So, yeah, it's going to be quite an interesting one to watch over the coming weeks. So let's talk about what the situation is. Sale Sharks, one of the losing semi-finalists. Which are the players that are in the mix potentially to be brought into the England squad, and who would you have? As ever with this and every other element of this video, comments down below. Give the video a thumbs up. Thank you very much for watching. I'm Tim. This is Egg Chasers, and let's talk England. Now, there's a bunch of Sale players who've had really good seasons. Bevan Rod, you can go through the team. Some of them have been established England internationals in the past. Luke Cowan-Dickie, Tom Curry would be among them. Not played a lot of rugby, injuries to contend with. But Bevan Rod, James Harper, Ben Curry, George Ford, Tom Roebuck and Joe Carpenter, I would say, are the contenders to be brought into the England squad. So 8 players there. I'd love to include Rafi Quirk again. I really hope he can find the form he has done in the past. But a fair chunk of Sale players. Which ones will make it to Steve Borthwick's England squad? Well, I'm looking at that situation. I'm going to rule out Luke Cowan-Dickie. I mean, he was a British and Irish Lion in 2021. He's had a lot of injuries, and other players have really stepped up, and Theo Dan's taken his opportunity. Curtis Langdon's playing brilliantly for Northampton Saints. So I think Luke Cowan-Dickie has dropped right down the pecking order. Currently injured, wasn't able to play in the semi-final. I'm going to exclude him, and I'm just going to kind of put on the bubble Tom Curry and James Harper. James Harper's a really promising tight head prop, young, got a big future. Is he ready for the international stage? Not sure about that, but he's definitely a good prospect. Tom Curry, just back from injury, played, half an hour of rugby. Looked really good when he did in that semi-final at the Rec. But will Steve Borthwick bring him into the squad on the strength of that half an hour and his reputation? Possibly, possibly not. So those are the rest of the Sale players, I think, are very much in the mix. Joe Carpenter's one that would be possibly 50-50 as well, but he's had such a good season. I hope he makes the cut. As for Saracens, a load of established England internationals. You can see them all there in their England jerseys. A bunch of them were at the Rugby World Cup. Elliot Daly, Ben Earl, Maro Itoje, Theo Dan, Jamie George. I'd also include Nick Ezekwe there. With there's a lack of locks in the squad currently and available to Steve Borthwick. That's one player that is a fairly known quantity. Hugh Tizard would be another contender, but I'm going to rule Hugh Tizard out. He hasn't quite pushed on in the way that I hoped he would after the move from Harlequins. Still think he's got something about him, though. The rest of them, I would expect to be in the England squad when Steve Borthwick announces it. So that would make the England squad look like this. Currently, loosehead prop, the only player there in that position is Finn Baxter. Interesting that Joe Marler wasn't selected in that position, although the word is he is going to be brought back in and taken on the tour to Japan and New Zealand. By the way, what do you make of the fact that the Japan game, they haven't managed to find a TV partner to broadcast the game, so it's going to be going out on, is it Rugby Pass? It's going to go out online there. It's a strange one, that, for an England international. Bit of a concern, perhaps, but there we go. Anyway, Finn Baxter, currently the loosehead prop, only loosehead prop. I would fully imagine Bevan Rod is going to be brought back into the fray. If Joe Marler comes back in, it'll be interesting to know. You'd imagine he'd only take 3 loosehead props. Beno Abano for Bath is the other contender. And probably it's going to be 3 from those 4. So one of Finn Baxter, Bevan Rod, Beno Abano, probably going to miss out on the tour. If he takes Joe Marler, that is. Otherwise, it becomes a bit of an easier decision. But there you go. That's what I expect to happen tomorrow. Joe Hayes, currently the only tight head prop in the England squad. Strange number as well. 19 men. They've done a lot of fitness work. There's not a massive amount more you can do. Skills work and fitness work when you've only got 19 players. But that's why I expect James Harper to be brought back in the frame. Because I think he's the only one of Sale and Saracens, who you could really add. I mean, potentially now he's had a week off. Will Dan Cole come back in as well? I don't know. The word is Dan Cole's going to tour Japan and New Zealand, so maybe, we'll see. But that's why I think James Harper might be brought in tomorrow in the England squad, because there is only Joe Hayes at the moment. At least they could have two scrums going up against each other if they have 16 forwards in total. Moving on to the second, to hooker, and Gabe Ogray of Bristol was there. Good reward for him. Did feel sorry for Harry Thacker. I don't know, his Bristol teammate, pleased for Gabriel Ogray. But you've got the two Saracens hookers that will come back into the fray with, as I say, Luke Cowan-Dickie I don't expect to be called up. He could do. Regardless, whether Luke Cowan-Dickie does or doesn't, I think you might see Gabriel Ogray nudged out of the squad. Obviously, with Curtis Langdon still to come back, that might be what happens. He may keep him in, but potentially the two Saracens guys, 1 and 2 for England at the moment, the captain, and I mean Theo Dan's making an argument that he should be starting, but there you go. That's another argument altogether. Moving to second row then, where currently it's Russi Tuima and George Martin. George Martin absolutely going to tour, no question. Not just sure if Russi Tuima will tour. He's clearly a big prospect, but ready for that international step. Maybe for the test against Japan. I wouldn't expect him to play any part against New Zealand. And you've got Maro Itoje, who will definitely come back in. Nick Ezekwe could come back in. And I think that might be the 4 locks that get taken through for next week. Ben Bamber looks like a possible prospect, big unit, in his first season in the Premiership, a bit like Russi Tuima. He could, as a real outside bet, if Steve Borthwick wanted numbers, but there you go, that's what I expect to happen. And then, as I say, potentially Russi Tuima, you've had a week in camp, it's great to see you. Off you go back to Exeter, rest up, and then have another big pre-season, and next year could be the year he pushes on. Be interesting to see that one, and as I say, let me know in the comments down below if you disagree on that. Back row, currently 5 men in the England squad. Chandler Cunningham South and Alex Dombrandt from Harlequins, Ethan Roots and Greg Fisselau from Exeter, and Guy Pepper from Newcastle. Now this is a position, probably more than any other, where I think there are guys there just to get a bit of experience, for Steve Borthwick to have a look at, with a view to the future. Guy Pepper and Greg Fisselau, I don't expect to tour, but they're very, very hot prospects, the pair of them. Players coming back in, Ben Curry and Ben Earl, fully expect them to be back in. Potentially Tom Curry, that's a question mark. I haven't included Tom Curry in this, because I'm thinking he's only just come back from an injury, and the last game he played before the semi-final was the bronze medal match at the Rugby World Cup. Then again, apparently Tom Curry's been absolutely smashing it in training at Sale Sharks. He's been the fittest guy. His strength is off the charts as well. So Tom Curry, you could imagine him having a conversation with Steve Borthwick and saying, I've been working hard because I want to go on this tour. So I haven't got Tom Curry in here at the moment, but I could fully expect Steve Borthwick at least bringing him into camp and potentially touring with him this summer. We will see on that front, but I would expect, even potentially tomorrow, one of, or maybe both of, Guy Pepper and Greg Fisselau to be sent back to their clubs for a bit of off-season and pre-season, but a really valuable week in camp with England. Possibly, unless he wants 2 full-back rows, in which case one of those guys might stay, and then you've got 6. Maybe they'll both stay, who knows? But that's kind of how I see it as we look towards the tour anyway. Scrum half, you've got Harry Randall and Jack Van Portfleet. This is going to be a big decision. How do you want to play Steve Borthwick? If you want someone more in the Alex Mitchell mould, well, actually, Alex Mitchell's a good balance because he's got that snipe and that running ability, but his kicking, tactical kicking for Northampton this season has been brilliant. Jack Van Portfleet, more of a controlling, kicking, tactical 9, and Harry Randall, more of an explosive, pacey kind of scrum half. So which one of those will he want to keep when it comes to the actual tour? That's going to be a really interesting one to watch, because you'd imagine Alex Mitchell and Ben Spencer are both going to come back in, and one of these two is going to be the 3rd scrum half. Which one will it be? But I think these will still be the 2 scrum halves when Steve Borthwick updates his squad tomorrow. It won't change. Fly half, there will be change, of course, because George Ford is going to come back in. Charlie Atkinson and Marcus Smith with the 2 10s in this squad. And what I imagine is going to happen is George Ford will come in, Charlie Atkinson will go out. Obviously, you've got Finn Smith still to come in. So So it's a very strong position for England. Centres, two centres at the moment, Luke Northmore, Henry Slade, and I don't think that's going to change because I don't think there are Sale or Saracens players at the level required to take that international step. Hartley at Saracens is one to watch in the 12 jersey, but he hasn't been able to nail down a starting spot for his club, so he needs to do that before he can step up to England level. So on to the back three then, where these are the contenders when you add the new players in. You've got Freddie Stewart, Emmanuel Faye-Waboso and Max Malins were already there, and I'm adding to that Tom Roebuck, Elliot Daly, and potentially Joe Carpenter as well. Potentially, again, if you want 6 players and 2 full back threes, that might be the way you go. But Joe Carpenter and Max Malins could equally get nudged out. I would imagine probably going to want maybe 2 full teams that could do some sort of training against each other, which is why he might stick at 6. Although, to be fair, I'm looking at that, and I know Max Malins has played on the wing, so who knows? Anyone I've missed? Anyone I've not included from Sale, from Saracens? Will Joe Marler and Dan Cole come back in now? Is there anyone else you would either nudge out or think will tour that I'm kind of suggesting is only there for experience? Let me know. Be interesting to watch. And then we'll have another update, of course, after the Premiership final, when Steve Borthwick will name his official summer training squad, which will get whittled down to a squad then for Japan and New Zealand. It's going to be an interesting one to watch. And some box office matches. England, New Zealand, Ireland against South Africa. You've got Wales, Australia. Some really interesting games to look forward to. And I'll be covering all of them on the channel, of course, here on Egg Chasers. Thank you for watching. And I'll see you on the next one.